How to know what to charge in high ticket. This is a question I get all the time. In fact, it's pretty funny because I've already had an hour-long conversation about this earlier today with one of my groups. And so we're going to be diving into how to price your offer, how to communicate your value, and this whole idea of your worth. Okay. So before we get into that, though, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jana Nixa, and I am the Authentic Sales Coach. I work with coaches, consultants, and service based entrepreneurs and help them map out and create a high ticket sales process from a high converting offer all the way through how to close your high ticket clients on either one to many sales or sales calls. So I spent over 2 decades in the sales world. And what I learned about this whole sales process is most of what you think you know about sales is pretty much untrue. And so we're going to dig into that right now, starting with this idea of charging your worth. Oh my God. Please, somebody, who started this rumor? They need to be up there with the people who started the rumor that ABC always be closing and never take no for an answer. Because let's think about that. You're pricing an offer based on your worth. Like those things are definitely not connected because, first of all, you're priceless. And so I just want you to breathe into that. And your offer is not you. Okay. And so these are different things. And we don't price based and own our worth and price our offers based on our worth. Okay. We price our offers based on the transformation that they provide and our certainty and our ability to execute on that transformation and get our ideal clients results as fast as possible. Okay. And so I just wanted to start off with that because imagine, no wonder so many of you are like freaking out on sales calls and taking it personally, because if you're pricing your offer and making it and equating it to your worth, and then somebody says that's too expensive, or somebody says no thank you, then what are we making that mean? Okay. And so I just want you to think about that for a second, because when somebody says they can't afford it, I mean, there's a lot, we'll go into that another day around what that probably means and how to really get to the bottom of what that means to somebody, but it certainly shouldn't be attached to your worth. And so I want to just leave that first and foremost, because when we are creating a high ticket offer, we price at our level of conviction. Why? Because we have to have the ability to sell it. And if you're not convicted and passionate and just lit up about what you're selling, and that the price that you have made it available for is ridiculously good because of the transformation you provide. So notice that I didn't say it's a ridiculously good deal or you made it affordable, but it is in terms of the value that you're offering in comparison to the price tag that you're charging. It's like a no-brainer for your clients. And so just a good rule of thumb is whatever the price is of your offer, whatever you feel convicted in terms of like, no, this is it. I feel good about this. And I don't want to hear any like $297, price it where they can afford it. No, we're going to stand in our power. And I want you to really own this offer in the transformation you provide in your genius zone. Okay. And then whatever that price tag is, I want you to 10x the value inside the offer. Why? Because if you're pricing yourself, you're like, no, this is it. This is good. And then you 10x what's inside. I mean, you will have the energy of, I mean, this is such an incredible offer. Like, I can't wait to tell everybody about it. Right. And so for anybody that's like 10x the value, how do I do that? What does that even mean? It means like, I want you to obsess over your ideal client's problem and the nuts and bolts and the ins and outs and the nitty gritty pieces to the point where you know so much about how they're feeling, what they're going through on a daily basis, and all the frustrations and the challenges. Like you've legit entered the conversation in their mind. And when you obsess about that problem more than they ever have, and you can demonstrate that you've also obsessed about their solution far more than they ever have, then that person wins because they care enough about the client and delivering that client the transformation they desire that they can demonstrate it from start to finish. The amount of conviction that person's going to have, the amount of like no brainer energy that you're going to carry when you go into any sales call, like, you want this or not? Like, this is incredible. Like, I couldn't even think of a better fit. That's how I feel about my offer. I'm like, I truly sat down and thought through from start to finish. How could I possibly get my clients from having an offer that's not converting to signing clients consistently? What do they need? Like, what are the gaps? Like, what's missing in the like coaching space that people aren't providing? And how can I do it faster? And here's another important question. It's not just me. Like, it's not just it's not just how do I do it? It's who else needs to be involved. So the question then becomes, who needs to be involved and how can I get my ideal clients the best results in the least amount of time? Okay. And so these are the kind of questions you want to be thinking through when you're creating your offer, which is going to create um, that conviction and then really being able to communicate that transformation because that's what sells. I think it was Alex Hermosi that said, when it comes down to it at the end of the day, the person that has conviction is going to always win. That's 80%, 80% of the job. So anyone that's got their head, like buried in a sales script, anyone that's, you know, trying to get it right or feels like they have to do things a certain way, you want to spend a lot of time here first because when you know that you have the best, that you've created the very best thing to provide the transformation, then it's not selling. It's basically like buy or don't buy. Here it is. I created this. I know it's exactly what you need. And I know it's exactly what you want. And it's going to get you where you want to go. So here it is. Okay. So can you see energetically how we have to really align with that in order to move our clients? Because if you're not certain about your offer and if you're not convicted in the price that you're selling it for, then it's going to be really difficult to sell. Okay. And so spend time here. Like, don't just create the offer that you want and price it accordingly to something they can afford. Like, it's going to be a lot harder to sell that, even if it's half as much. Do you know why? Because you're not excited about it. Like, you really didn't do it with a lot of intention. And so that's why you see all these people out there, like just making empty money. And it's just kind of like, ugh, like this is something you want to create for your ideal client, knowing that it's something that they not only want, but they're willing to invest in. And of course, all of that information is available to you online. You can see what your ideal client is spending their money on right now. And so that's a lesson for another day. But I want you to think about that. There are wrong prices. It's you and your belief. And I don't want you to think that that has to be tied to your self-worth or owning your value, other than the fact that you have truly obsessed over this issue. You have put together something that you think is more valuable than anything else on the market to address the problem that they have. And when you've done that, price it accordingly. So One thing I want to add, because a lot of my clients are thinking, oh my God, I don't want to like live with all my clients. That's not it. People don't want you to live with them. That's not it. They want the results. They want the transformation. I've even struggled with that too, because I've worked with some people and I'm like, get them the result. Like they're closing within the one call or two calls with me. And I'm like, oh crap, what am I going to do now? And it's like, my coach had to remind me, Jana, they went from not being able to close their sales calls to closing pretty much every one of them. So they're good. And so we have to get out of that like employee set type of mind of like, my time and my money are intertwined. And I want you to start thinking results as quickly as possible. Okay. Because that's what people want. Like, would you rather have 2 calls with me and close at 70%, or 12 calls with me and close at 70%? Right. So can you start to unhook the 2 of those, because they don't have to be connected? That's just that old matrixy mentality of people want X amount of time with me and that equals X amount of money. Okay. So what is something else that we were going to talk about here with, okay, so the other big piece of this that I see people missing, and why you're getting a lot of this, like, that's too expensive, I can't afford it, is because you're not communicating the value of the transformation. You're not activating their desire, and you're spending a lot of time talking about the pieces of the program that they're not concerned about. Okay, so what I like to say is sell the cake, not the recipe. Most time, 9 times out of 10, when I see clients, and yes, they say, oh yeah, features over benefits, but then I go actually look at what they're doing, and they're absolutely still selling the features. They're still selling the inner child work. They're still selling the meditations. They're still selling the amount of calls each week. They're still selling the breath work. They're still selling the modalities. They're still selling all of the process and not the payoff. And so, if you just want a piece of chocolate cake, imagine how annoying it is if you're like trying to buy a piece of chocolate cake. And I'm like, do you know that this chocolate cake was baked at 350 degrees? And like, we use this type of flour. You're like, just give me the cake. I just want to try the cake. Tell me about the cake. What does it taste like? Is it, everybody's favorite word, moist? You know, um, like, tell me, like, what kind of icing, right? How much of it do I get? Like, all of those pieces, like, what does it taste like? Not how much flour's in it, how long did it cook, right? What are all the ingredients? Was it 1 egg or 2? That's not important. They just want to eat the cake. Okay. And so often people will hear that. And then I look and they're like, no, 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 I'm selling the cake. And I look at what they're doing and they're not. And that's where we have to communicate the value, because people aren't going to pay for the cake recipe. They want the cake. People aren't going to pay to know how many modules they're going through and how many calls they're going to get and whether or not they're going to get Voxer, and if they're going to get a support call with this person, or if they're going to get a Facebook group with that person. That's not it. They want to see what the transformation will look like, but not through the features of the program. So I'm going to say that again, because I'm always like, focus on the payoff, not the process, right? But the problem is, when it comes to communicating your offer in the system that you're going through, you do have to walk them through the steps of how they're going to get from point A to point, I don't want to say Z, because we don't ever take anybody all the way through everything they need, like point A to point G, right? And so you have to learn how to communicate that in a way that resonates with them. So instead of talking about modules and calls, and this is what it's, first we're going to do this, because you know how you said, Susie, that, you couldn't lose weight and you knew it was because of your age. Well, that's what we're going to do first. We're going to get a baseline assessment of your hormone levels and we're going to look at what you're eating each day and how much you're moving, and we're going to, get all of that and your weight and all, and really figure out a customized plan for you. But we have to start with that baseline so that we know where you are, right? Then we're going to take all that information and customize a plan that's going to get you the quickest results possible. Okay. But do you see, like, I'm walking them through a process, but it's not the like tactics of the thing. It's the vision. It's the transformation. And they need to be able to see those steps. So, first we get your baseline, and then we get your plan together, right? And then we execute the plan. And so, how you told me, Susie, that it's so hard for you to stay on track. That so often you start something, you start a program, you do great for a while, and then you stop. Well, in this program, what we're going to do is we're going to customize it based on what you told us in step 1, so that the actual exercises that you're doing and the foods that you're eating, you really enjoy and you actually look forward to it, because it's no longer running on a treadmill for an hour, right? We're going to look at some of the things you do enjoy doing and like customize your program to fit that, right? And you can do this with any offer, right? If you think about my offer, it's like, okay, so I build things backwards. Most people start with content and then try to figure out how to get clients from there. But I start with the offer first. So the first thing we're going to do is get that offer dialed in with your ideal client, so that not only is it something they want, it's something they're willing to invest in. We're going to validate that offer, right? And then step 2, now an offer is only as good as the messaging. Your offer can be incredible, but if it's not resonating with your ideal client out in the market, they don't really understand it, it's not going to go anywhere. You could have an offer to cure cancer, but if you're not speaking the language of your ideal client, and so how you told me before that this is something you've really struggled with, well, we're going to make sure that that's not the case. Then step 3, we're going to customize your sales process, because a big gap that a lot of people have is they don't know how to walk people through the customer buying journey, right? So we're going to look at what you're doing now. We're going to figure out where the holes are. We're going to figure out what pieces of it you like, what pieces of you don't. And we're going to actually make what you're doing work for you in a way that actually you enjoy. Okay. And it's going to be simple. So what I often find is, a lot of times people are doing too many things. They have too many things on their plate. And this is the part where we really get to simplify and really focus on just the income producing activities and so on. And I'm taking them through my process so that by the end of it, you're going to have a systematic, duplicatable, predictable, simple sales flow process to take your high ticket clients through. No more aimlessly posting on social media. No more going live ridiculously in your Facebook group, emailing your list 45 times a day, doing master classes that nobody shows up for, right? So I'm walking them through a process, and they're seeing in these little micro pieces of it, like how I'm going to get them through to the transformation. This is how you build desire. This is how you build value in what you're doing, because you're showing them the journey that they're going to go on to the destination, but not the tactical day in, day out things. And that's the piece that I think a lot of people disconnect from, because no one cares about that stuff. That's not what they're buying. They're buying the step-by-step process that's going to give them the end result, which is ultimately what they want. And what they're buying more than that is your expertise, your certainty that you can get them where they want to go, and that you're going to support them with that process and hold them accountable every step of the way. Okay? Because we all know that knowledge isn't power. Integration and implementation of knowledge is power. And that's done having somebody there alongside you that's already walked that course. That's how you communicate and demonstrate value to somebody in what you do and how you serve them. So Let me know in the comments what questions you have about this because it's an entirely different way of looking at it. I know it seems like intellectually that we just told them how much time we're going to give them and they're going to get this and that support and this many modules, and that's not what it is. We have to show them how we get them to the destination in a systematic way that we've done many, many times, and that they're going to be at the end result. Like there's no way they couldn't be there, right? And that is what people need. They need to feel that safety and that certainty. And that is where your value comes from, especially as a coach or as a healer, somebody that you're taking someone through that transformational process. And it isn't about how they get there in the nitty gritty specifics of it, but definitely showing them the what we're going to do to get you there. Because if you can demonstrate that for, $15,000, you can give them the ability to make $100,000 this next year, what is that worth to them? If you can demonstrate to them that you can get them healthy enough that they don't have to have the operation the doctor said they had to have, what's that worth to them? If you can get them to the place where they can see the transformation in their relationship and that it's possible for them, that they don't have to get a divorce, what is that worth to them? If you can have somebody reconnect with their estranged children that they haven't spoken with for whatever reason, what is that worth to them? That's where the worth comes in. That's the worth. It's not about owning your worth. It's about being in your zone of genius and obsessing over what your ideal client wants and giving it to them. And then walking them through the process of how you're going to do that for them. Okay. But again, when I say the word process, don't focus on the features and all the how. Focus on what that looks like. Okay. So that they can see themselves in each step of that journey. And when you do it in that way, and people can feel the possibility and you build the desire that this is possible for them. Not only possible, but it's probable because you know what you're doing and you can do it. That's where the sales come from. But I would be remiss as the authentic sales coach if I didn't talk about your intention during this thing. This is not about you. This is about you showing them what's possible for them. This is about you demonstrating to them that these dreams, that this thing that they actually want, they can have. You're helping them make a decision that they already desire to make. And you're just there as the neutral advisor, showing them how this is possible for them. And so we have to stay in that energy. And when you stay there and you stay in what I like to call like ego-free sales, it's not pushy, it's not slimy, it's none of those things. And when you can do that with like that anti-pressure approach, people will pay you because they want what you have to offer. But it's when you get pushy and weird and like controlling and attached, that's when they lean out. So you lean out. It's like, this is what I got. Buy or don't buy. I'm good. Here's what we're going to do. I can do this. And it's, worth its weight in gold. And then it's their decision on how they want to do it. That's the energy you want to hold. That's how you own your worth, is by not chasing somebody and like, pick me and getting needy. That's how you own your worth. But it's not attached to the value of your offer because you're priceless. So I'm going to end it there for today, but thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments, like what was most helpful for you today. And please, like, share, subscribe, all of those things, because it really helps the algorithm get this out to more people. I also have an income producing activities checklist below in the description. So if you are feeling like, well, I don't know what those things are that I need to be doing. What if I'm doing the things I don't need to be and focused on the wrong things? Definitely check that out below, and I'll see you all next week.